We're live. Go to 16.9. We're gonna be doing more flight controller stuff today. Nothing too crazy. Working on some code for the flight control stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure details. Is there audio geometry utils? Segment intersection of a sphere, triangle. There's a right intersect triangle. Yeah, maybe geometry utils is not a bad name. 1 second. Oh, no, no, all good. Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Or Mace is behind Discord, and I'll throw it on another screen. But I had like 2 cubic functions here. It's a busy point. Yeah, it's pretty much the same function. What are we building today? I'll kind of show you. It's actually some of the hardest stuff that I've done. So we have a hangar, or we have a station. Let me actually show you. Let me give you the context first. I'll walk you through the problem, the math problem, and then it'll kind of make sense. I'm sure it's missing something. There's probably some more math missing, but I think I got it figured out. I just need to put it together. So let's look at gravity testing. This is a scene I created for the NPCs to do their own thing. But as you can see, like NPCs are doing their own thing. They're going, they're buying cargo, they're going to get in a drink, they're going from A to B, and they're going to spawn in their ships. Right? So now they've spawned in their ships. Their ships have created a route already, and now they're heading to their ships. Right, so they're headed to their ships, everything's all good. We want to move them into these hangars, but it all makes sense here shortly. Right, and as soon as they're in their own ships, they're gone on about their day. And then more are spawning in, they're all queuing up. It's like an air traffic control system type thing, right? So we should see now like the same thing is happening over here. Right, the NPCs are kind of done whatever they need to do. And they're just gone on about their day, and we're just waiting for them to start arriving. So as soon as some of these going to get out of the way here in a second, and there's some free spots, right, it'll register those free spots. So as you can see, like in a straight line, the NPCs have not really much problem coming and going. And we can run this simulation for days, and it seems to be pretty stable. But this is all based upon a premise that there's one arrival point, which is like this point here, that we reach, and then from this arrival point, we're given a route. But it's a very basic route. It's like a very simple curve. Same over here, right? We're being brought to an arrival point, and then we're being given a place to land. This guy is stuck. This guy coming in. Yeah, this guy already there, so he's not being given one, but this one will work. Yeah, because it depends on their distance, right? Like they all spawn in a random spot, so you know where they are when they spawn in. And if their ship is like one random pad, it takes a while for them to get there, so that it's all kind of random. They're all doing their own thing, right? And what's cool is like I can watch this guy, right? Gennardo Reed. Oh. Right, Gennardo is going to spawn in his own ship. Or we'll do Christian. So we can watch Christian become the ship, go to the other side, and then land, and it works, right? So if we follow Christian, because I want to get like a cargo working for NPCs. Like you don't see NPCs flying from station to station in Star Citizen. Do patrons get a named after them? I never considered it. I think it's something that I might allow. Like allow them to go in and just name one. Right, so we're gonna watch Christian spawn in right here. Right, fully working. So here's the problem, right? That works. All right, great. Then we have new truck stops. And now you'll see the problem, right? New truck stops have hangars, right? And the hangars need to have arrival and departure splines, right? So their arrival and depart, as the the ships arrive, they need to be given a hangar, and then they have to fly in, and land and take off, and it's kind of the idea. So what I've done in this test world is I have those random hangars, and I have a very primitive distance check. I'll minimize this. And we run space, and we just kind of follow along our little cubes here. So these are two ships. Oh, they're with me. And as they arrive, they're being given their own hangar, and they're being given their own arrival spline. So the ships are following along their own arrival splines. They're kind of burning off that momentum, and their flight model is doing its thing. Right? And then they arrive. And then in a few seconds, they're going to head off to go to the next place, so they're going to be given a departure spline. But what's bad about this is, like, we know from the ship, from the hangar, right, the ship, where they're going next. So you can see there's a direction from the station towards the next location. But, like, the arc that gets created for them to follow doesn't align to the destination. And it also, like, we don't really need it to kind of use this direction. So we wanted to do something simple, or something a bit more simple. So what we needed was a few tools, and I found a bug bungalow with the AABB struct in C#, which is actually missing. It's missing intersect ray on the AABB class. What do you think are the limits? Let me move. My YouTube chat is over my Twitch chat for some reason. What do you think the limits of people going to be on the most in the game is complete? Probably 24 players, like Sea of Thieves. Right? Like, I don't know how player housing will go yet, if they're just going to have apartments to decorate, if they're going to be instants. It depends on gameplay. Like, we don't have giant, crazy planet technology yet or anything, so gotta keep it simple, like 16 to 24 players in an instance the size of, what Sea of Thieves would be as far as time dilation goes. I think would be pretty good. So I'll show you here what I've been working on. So I have a bunch of tests that we started building. So one for visualizing the AABBs themselves. So the red area here, let me skip this track real quick. But I have them firm, like a station builds as people buys the hangars and the hangar stays there. Yeah, that could be kind of cool too. They could just degrade by people not paying the upkeep. You know what I mean? So we have an AABB system, so we can figure out what the bounds is, and I needed this AABB system to work with scale. So no matter what the scale is, the AABB is truly in world space. Like, the scale, it's not doing it in real time right now, just like the object would already be created. So, but over here, this is what I've been working with lately. So here we have an AABB, and we have a hangar, and the hangar marker is right here. Right, and if I rotate this thing, you'll notice that it actually, finds that intersection point between the, and it's not a raycast, this is true math, right? It's just an AABB bound. So if we have an area that represents the whole space station, like an AABB, we can actually very, mathematically simply, we can get the bound of intersection. And this is very, like, kind of a simplified version of this, but my reasoning for this is, let's say this was a weird shaped asteroid, and we knew the station, so we know 1, and we know the intersection of the AABB, like, we know how far away, we would have to fly to truly clear, the bound of the station, so that we're in the clear. Well, that gives us, A1 and B1. And then, assuming we're going some direction from this point, any direction at all, we'll pretend that we're flying from this point over towards this Zeppelin-looking thing, right? Then we can do an intersect ray again, to figure out, like, if the direct path is blocked by something. And then whatever, because when we intersect this time, we're intersecting on a plane, and then whatever volume is the highest, whether it's left or right, the smallest volume of the intersect plane is the direction that we kind of extend our kind of AABB out until we reach the clearance again. And whatever the distance is from the hangar to the first point of clearance to, when we finally figured out, how far over we're going to be to have cleared the station, we will end up creating pretty much a perfect, point like here, right? Like this will be the point towards it, and then we go towards the destination the same length that we've already come out. So this length is the length from the bounding box, towards the route, and now we have these really nice, 4 points that kind of wrap around the bounding box of the station, whatever we want to call it, and it works exactly like this debug curve here, where we have A, and we have B1 and A1 are perfectly straight, and they curve the the arc of the Bezier. So we can create like a perfect departure spline of vertices, that'll be used for a flight path that will bring us around the AABB, which is the axis aligned bounding box. And the idea then is every little hangar will create its own departure or arrival spline, because an arrival spline would just be the same thing in reverse, depending on where they're going or where they're coming from, whatever their destination is, or like where they are when they finally got close enough is where we start an arrival, and where they're going, is going to be where we would end, right, a departure. But the cool thing is because we're doing it based upon these 4 control nodes, these 4 points that we're generating based upon the bound of the station, we can also check and see if they're also aligned. Like each hangar has these generated 4 control nodes that we can distance check against the other routes to make sure that the routes are spaced out enough that makes sense. So the idea being is like a whole station and its multiple hangars can kind of air traffic control itself. Yeah. When you get into buying and selling hangars based on location, which affects price, I think that'd be cool. Me too. I like the idea of having an asteroid base or something, like a roughneck kind of, you have your arm for working on your ship, and you can kind of do your own thing and be out in the middle of nowhere. So, and then other than this, I've made, some, a custom material for rendering points, and then another one for rendering lines, millions and millions and millions, so many lines that, it's yellow. So this is all for debugging, right? This is just being, all of this project that I'm working on here is for the creation of, kind of a, I don't know what I'll call it, but I'm going to get the AABB routing system working, and then we're going to create like a quadri, like a spatial quadri that'll just kind of take a star system as one volume and start subdividing it up into the different like celestial objects, and kind of creating like a like a collection of different spatial objects, and it'll be all based upon a certain level of padding between everything. So we get this really nice spatial collision detection system. And when ships are, the ship sensors will still work like normal. Like they'll still detect everything around it, and it'll still be able to kind of fly by wire. The idea is just, I think, navigation calculations of where ships are going and coming and all that kind of stuff should be very, like, hands off. It should be kind of pre-calculated. Like, they should kind of know in advance where they're going, and it should be computationally light. And if it's light enough, then we could actually, continuously update that route in real time, and we could actually make some of the celestial objects be moving, which would completely change the way the gameplay is, right? If things are always in motion, then I think that'd be really cool. But it's just experimentation, like a bit of vibe coding, a bit of everything I've been going through and just kind of playing with stuff. Yeah, let's get rid of this one. I kind of like the first parameter being the actual float. This is what I'll do when I'm experimenting. I'll create like a small little project with just some very basic stuff in it. Because the idea is once this gets kind of working the way that I want it, then it'll be used for. I'll just port all these changes into the flight model of the ships. Same thing, let's get rid of this and call it, it's kind of a part of debug. Call it flight path. A flight path makes sense because it's a space game. Approach path. The space name for a flight path. Approach, flight path, the trajectory. Like manifold approach vector. Approach path? Yeah, I'm gonna call him approach path visualizer. Yeah, it's kind of it, but not really. And because it's going to be a mesh instance ready, it might as well be the mesh instance ready. Now what this recommended code is. I think this visualizer itself doesn't need to do any of the math. It only needs to render a bunch of the actual vectors that are being fed into it. Path points is probably fine. Make sure it still works. I mean, it's making the path, but not updating the visualization. Oh, maybe I'll resend it. Have you played the new Space Engineers 2 yet, Omeners? Is it any good? Okay, clear and diminish, make sure it does a departure. Just, oh, it's time. Yeah. I mean, that's the balance I want, but I'm not getting the actual. Yeah, it's visible. Not on a weird layer. Oh, custom bands. There you go. Yeah, we want to be on. Can we do an onlit but still have an alpha? Do it unshaded. Hey, how's it going, Masochist? Yeah, we can kind of do unshaded, which is fine. Yeah, that works. We need a little bit more alpha from the Jigami. Let's do 25. Oh, no, no worries. Yeah, we're doing a bunch of absolutely terrible math right now. Just doing flight model stuff with chips. Got a new mic, helps a lot. Nice. So we're using some of the bounds of the station to kind of calculate a departure and an arrival spline. So we want the ships to kind of go around, right, this bound. And then finally fly in. You do so much big brain stuff. I try, man. There we go. There we go. And just to show you, so here's like, you know, the gray box version of my space game, and we have these hangars that you can go and work on the ships. I just operate on adrenaline and vibes. Hell yeah. Right? But the issue, you know, that we're having, if we check out the gravity testing scene, I'm not sure if you've seen this yet or not. Right, so here's the TLDR of the system that I'm working on in its glory. Okay, so we have NPCs, you know, they're going around the station, they're doing their thing. Right, and then when they run out of time, they, hey man, what's up? This video game design? Yeah. Yep, so as they, once they're no longer bored, hungry, thirsty, and are no longer idle, the station manager spawns them in their own ship. So like this guy is becoming a ship now, right? The ship heads to the arrival point or departure point, and then heads off to the other station. So we want this whole process to be seamless. Like NPCs should be able to transition from their state on an NPC, like on a station, to their ship, which would have cargo and missions and salvage and all that stuff. And then when they, you know, they need to not bang into each other. Their flight paths themselves have to be stable. And now that enough of them have left and arrived, we'll start to see the ATC kind of doing its own thing here, right? So the nearest, whichever one's next. So they're fully capable of flying by wire. The issue is they're very dumb when it comes to a specific approach or departure, like spline. Like this, their ability, like once they, you know, get close enough, they're given like a path to follow, but it's really basic. And then, you know, if we were to take this system right now, like I could run this for days and it would be fine, other than a few of them bouncing around or going under the station. They need better anti-collision, right? To be able to know, like, you know, don't bang into the station. You know, we want to make the whole station, other than the final arrival, to be like no-fly zone. Because, you know, they need to, you know, on the real stations, right, that they have to be able to enter and exit the actual hangars, right, and get stored. So that's the, you know, the whole point of this test project that I'm working on. Right, is the NPCs need to be able to fully fly by wire, completely in and out. I'd say you put that brain in a jar, use that for your AI. That's what I do. I work in finance and I do tax things. But not as fun as you know, game dev, obviously. Okay, so here we have like weird control. No, like years, Soshi, man. So there's some errors in this original system, which would be very hard to explain, but we want to kind of get them flying nice. I don't know how. I've survived it so far. Yeah, so when I made this first version of the curves, you know, so I have this idea where I never pay taxes. I think a lot of people try to have those ideas where they never pay taxes. And you know who normally wins? The government. There are investment opportunities, though, to kind of mitigate taxation, but as far as never paying taxes, society would collapse. Yeah, so I hate this point here. Like this like an initial line is fine, and then but this Bezier curve here sucks, and it doesn't really quite understand like how to fly around, you know, the area. I'm not sure, like, ultimately the solution, but you build it up, you isolate the problem, and you just build it up piece by piece. Yeah, I think this needs a bit more space. Yeah, station bands, definitely. I feel like I can use like no, I don't think it should be 512. Maybe. We need enough room for the ship to kind of self-correct itself. What's our navigation area? Oh, yeah, that needs to be much bigger too. What was your idea, masochist? Yeah, I didn't know there's a much bigger arrival point. I'm not using it apparently. Travel distance is 40. I'm gonna rotate this a little bit. Just to make it weird. not like math. Anyways, 10 o'clock. I'm probably gonna leave it there. Did it early the stream tonight, but I'm exhausted. And we'll get the stuff working tomorrow. Why is it a 0? Alright, gonna end here on YouTube and get ready to rate something.